MLS, and today we're going to focus on the MLS reports, which I will say again, I'm super jazzed about because I don't know this functionality of MLS very well. So with that, I will hand it over to Jared.
All right, thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. So just a few things as we get started out here. I do have the chat box open, so feel free to go ahead and put in any questions that you have. I'll be monitoring that and getting back to your questions as soon as I can. A couple of things I want to show you outside of the login. So right now I'm at metromls.com. And if you actually hover over the word MLS, you'll see that we do have a statistics tab here. So if I click on that, it's going to actually open up rapid stats, monthly market reports, quarterly market reports, and the 10K market indicator reports. So the 10K market indicator reports are ones that we used to use. We've gotten away from those and we've gone to the rapid stats version. So you'll notice that anything after July of 2021 is not going to be found in these 10K market reports. So this is basically here for archival purposes. So if you want to look at these, the ones you're going to want to go to are the Rapid Stats monthly market reports. And I'm just going to go ahead and just open up the ones for September. I'm going to select the monthly local market reports. And it just downloaded as a zip file here. Can you see that on your screen, or did it go off your screen?
I think it went off.
Okay, let me share the new screen then.
I don't see any share from you on my screen.
Okay, now can you see it versus local market reports September?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So I'm just going to go ahead and open those up. We do have these broken down. Some of them are by individual municipalities. Some of them are broken down by county. And it really just kind of is a nice quick indicator as to what's going on in those different areas. And the great thing about these is you can definitely download them, print them off, share them with your customers. So I'm just going to go ahead and open up the Cedarburg-Grafton one. These are updated on a monthly basis here. So we can see at a glance that our filters are looking at Ozaki, primarily Cedarburg and Grafton, all the zip codes in that area. And then it does give us what the change in listings this year versus last year. So all of these stats at the very top are comparing this year to last year. So right now, as of September 2023, compared to September 2022, new listings were down 28.6%. Closed sales were.
Stop you.
Yes.
The PDF did not come up.
Okay. Okay, apparently I'm going to have to reshare every one of these.
I think you have to reshare, maybe do the desktop view versus when you share the screen. I think that's what allows. Yes, there we go.
Okay, thank you. So starting over again, we can see at the very top here, we have our filters. So this is what we're all looking at here. At the top, it's going to give us our 2023 compared to 2022 for the month of September. So again, we can see that we're down 28.6% in new listings for Cedarburg and Grafton for the month of September. We're down 4.6% in closed sales, and the change in median price was down 7.5%. So it does break it down here for us with new listings, closed sales, median sales price, percentage of original list price received, days on market, and so on. So these are just nice indicators that you can print off and give to your sellers so they can kind of just keep track of what's happening in that own marketplace. And as we scroll down, again, we've got some charts here that are just re-indicating those things that we looked at above.
Great.
So I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I've got you guys on my screen. So the other one on here is monthly metric reports. I'm going to go ahead and select that. Just want to make sure I'm sharing. Give me a second here.
Then there is a question from Kathy Popovich in the chat when you have a moment.
Okay, yep. Let me just go ahead and go through this report and then I'll get to Kathy's question there. So can everyone see the monthly metrics September 2023? Perfect.
Yep.
So this is looking at our four main counties, which we consider Milwaukee, Ozaki, Washington, and Waukesha County. And it's a similar report as far as giving us the total percentage in changes in closed sales. So this again is looking at the month of September 2023. We can see that our median sales price has increased a little bit across the board in those 4 counties, but the change in inventory is down, which I'm sure all of you are used to seeing. Then we also do have some graphs here showing historical information. Again, we're looking at 2022 versus 2023 for September. As we go through these, again, it's just looking at this month. It does give us a 12-year running breakdown as well as to what was happening in each of those months. So I'm just going to scroll through those.
Great.
So these are just really super easy reports that you can print off and give to your sellers. When it says zip codes all, how do we find those zip codes? More important when looking at the county level, where are a bunch and they get cut off on the report. So on this report, can you just unmute yourself and let me know where they get cut off?
Well, so I'm sorry, this is Kathy. So not on this
Kathy.
report, this is referring to the other report. Like, so I think you pulled up Grafton, which it just uses the word all for cities and then zip codes.
Yes.
So the question is like, where can we get the actual cities and zip codes? Is there like a reference point and, a quick reference? Like, and I think like, so one of the ones that we pull regularly would be for like if you pull like the local market reports, and I think maybe it might be Lake Country.
Okay, let me go into that one because different reports, depending upon the size of the area, is going to determine if they just do kind of like a county or those individual municipalities.
Right,
So
and what ends up happening is like when we pull these reports, sometimes like the city name, like they're not, it just goes ... Okay. And then just to be able to know, like, if we're going to be speaking to these, that we can say what is all of Lake Country North or South.
Okay, so like the one I have on my screen right now, for Jefferson,
we can't
and
see.
Waukesha.
Yeah, we can't see again. Sorry.
That's all right. Let me. You see it now?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So I see where you're.
+7. Yeah, where it says like +7.
Yes.
Like we can never see that.
Yeah, let me make a note on that, and then I will see if we can get that corrected.
Yeah, because this is one that we pull regularly, but it's hard when you're pulling something like this. And let's just say it is like Shaniqua. Like if I'm sharing this report with a seller whose home is in Shaniqua and it's not listed, nor can I verify that it's included, it's a little bit problematic.
Sure, absolutely. So I will talk to our team and see what we can do about that.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh.
All right. Any other questions on that? Good question. Okay. So we're actually going to go ahead and go into Flex. So I'm going to change my screen here to Flex MLS. So I just want to make sure everyone can see Flex MLS on your screen. Okay, we're going to stay inside of Flex, so hopefully we won't have to worry about that moving around. I'm going to start off by going a little bit out of order from what I would like to do. Reason for that is I'm going to be doing most of the next few reports from our test account, since there actually are there's a little bit of data in there, whereas in my own account I don't have any data. But in our test accounts, there's one feature that does not carry over into our test accounts, and that is if you're trying to include data from previous listing offices. So if you switch offices during the course of the year and you want to make sure you're running everything for this year, regardless of what office you were out of, this is how you're going to do it. So I'm going to stay in as myself. I'm going to go up to menu, and then we do have our statistics here. So we're going to go through and cover all these, but I just want to point out, again, where you can include those previous offices before we move on. So I'm just going to click on statistical reports, and I'm going to go ahead and just select market penetration, and we will go through these again in more depth in a little bit. But as I scroll down here, under statistics types, it has show my activity from prior offices. So if you did switch offices and you wanted to make sure you included that data You just make sure that you put a checkbox in there, and then it will run that data from that previous office as well as your current office, as long as it matches the other criteria that you put in. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and switch over to our test account here. And that the test account, again, does not have that option. So I just wanted to point that out. So we're going back to my menu here, and we're going to scroll down to statistics. So my production basically is just going to kind of show me this year versus last year and give me a real-time year-to-date. So if I'm interested in just kind of seeing, okay, how many total sales did I have this year? How many did I list and sell? How many involved a co-broke, which are these co-op here? So how many of someone else's listings did I sell? And how many of my listings did someone else sell? So does it give us this year, last year, and then a year-to-year comparison? It's also going to give us a percentage of this year versus last year. And then you can see this year, last year again. It's going to show us our current status unit volume. So how much do we currently have in active listing inventory as far as dollar amounts go? How many are how much is in pending, and how much have been withdrawn from the system? Then it also does give us our nice little graphs down below here. Blue indicating 2023, green indicating 2022. So these are nice little side-by-side comparisons. Again, just letting us see sales and listing activity by units, sales and listing activity by volume. So by units, we're looking at each individual transaction. If you double popped it, that would be considered 2 units, since you got both sides of it. If you were just on one side, it would just be considered 1 unit. And then volume, again, is just a straight up dollar amount. And then we also have them in these nice little pie graphs as well for you. I'm gonna go back to my menu and head back to statistics. So I'm gonna click on market summary. This allows us to kind of see what is actually going on in a specific area. So right now, the last closed month we had was October 2023. So it's going to automatically look at that data. And right now it's looking at the MLS as a whole. So we can see how many current listings are active, our brand new listings, and our sold listings, as well as the list prices, sold to list ratio, absorption rate. The absorption rate, I think, is one that really kind of gets neglected a lot. And you'll notice that as I hover over it, you'll see that little line on your screen. And actually that box pops up that tells us exactly how much that is instead of trying to have to guess. So right now, MLS as a whole, we've got 2.02 months of properties on the market that would take to get sold if no new properties came on. Then we also have our days on the market averages here. So right now we can see that our current average days on market is 25.6. And price volume, not quite sure why that dropped off as much as it did, but and then we have our summary statistics below. So again, we can easily see the absorption rate, average list price, median list price, average sales price, median sales price, and then the average cumulative days on market and the median cumulative days on market. So keep in mind too, when we're talking about days on market, there's the days on market, which is just your current listing, and then there's cumulative days on market. So if a property gets relisted because it didn't sell, it expired out, those cumulative days on market will continue to accrue from the previous listing, and those reset to 0 after the property's been off the market for 90 days. We also can see our sold listings here, broken down by price category, so we can see kind of which markets, which price ranges are hot. As you can see, once you start getting up over 200,000, those are selling a lot quicker. And then we also have our pending listings showing the same data, as well as our total active listings and the new listings. We're gonna go back to menu, and this is where we're gonna get more into the nitty-gritty details. And these are probably the reports you're probably most gonna be running. So if I select inventory reports, it does give me several different options here. And if I hover over one of them and select it, it basically tells us what this report is going to be including for us. And the nice thing about all these reports as well is if I want to see what I'm actually going to be running, I can click on this view sample, And it's going to give us a sample here of just what this report actually contains. So it allows me to actually see if I'm getting the information that I want to get without having to go through the process of actually running the full report and entering in all my criteria. So we can see in this report, the broker inventory and activity report, it gives us the property address, the city, the state. It gives us the price, the beginning date, the ending date, the current status. So if it's active, pending, withdrawn, delayed. If it's sold, it's going to give us the sold date, and then it's going to give us a little snippet of the remarks here. It also does give us a breakdown right here of current member stats. So we can see that currently there are 11 active listings with the value totaling $2.784 million, and so on and so forth. And again, just a reminder, anytime we see this those are going to be properties that are either co-listed with another agent or a listing that you may have sold that another agent had listed themselves. Okay, so let's say we want to go ahead and run this report. I can go back to the main menu page here, or right from the sample report, I can click on Run this report. And different reports are going to ask you for different options here. So by default, we're just looking at the last month typically with these reports. I also have the option though, if I want to filter it using a quick search. So let's say I went ahead and had a quick search set up and I want to use that criteria in here. So let's say I want to look at my single family. I can add that. And then as far as our totals go, do we want to show the company office totals, the member totals only? So the member would be you who's running the report, and include anyone in the $1 Million Club. So I'm just going to go ahead and select member totals only and click on next. It's going to ask me to choose the member. Since this a test account I'm in is part of a team, I do have the option of doing just Frank and Beans, who's the individual agent, or selecting the Marvin Hardy team, which is a team that Frank and Beans is a part of. So I can either select one or the other, or I can include all members that appear in this list. From there, I'm just going to click on next. And this is where we are allowed to put in our criteria, since we did want to include criteria based on the single family template. So if we wanted to look only at active listings, let's say in a specific area, I'm going to get 0 results here, but that's okay. So I can go ahead and enter in whatever criteria I normally would on a quick search. So bedrooms, bathrooms, price ranges, garages, all those kinds of things. So you really can customize these based upon individual criteria that you want to market yourself as. So maybe there is a condo complex somewhere and you've done a ton of work in there and you want to kind of just bring up those statistics. I always have a problem with that word, so bear with me. I can go ahead and use that condo and kind of narrow it down from there. So once I have the criteria selected that I want, I'm just going to select next again. Again, since this is our test account, there's no information given on this, but if there was information for sales data or active data for Grafton that this agent was a part of, it would display all that data that we saw in that preview option. Okay, another one that's important, if I go back to my inventory reports, is I can look at agent listing and sales summary or the product production report. Out of all of these, I want to say the production report is probably the one that you guys are most interested in, just knowing kind of how you did over the course of the year. Again, if I select it, I can click on view sample, and it's going to show me exactly residential, and then breaks it down by condominiums, commercial, all those types of things. And then it does give me information about the different transactions that I was a part of. So if this is the report again I want to use, I can click on run this report. It's going to ask me for my date range. So again, this is just looking at, by default, the last month's worth of data. But if I was looking at my entire year, I could just go ahead and make this the entire year. So we'll go ahead and do that. And then it's going to ask me again how I want to filter these. So property type is going to be my single family, but I could go ahead and do that quick search again. I'm just going to look at single family. But if I wanted to add condominium, I can go ahead and select on as many of these as I want to. So let's go ahead and do single family and condominium. And I'm just going to select next. Just like we saw in the last one, do I want to use a specific individual or the team that they're a part of, or both. I'm going to include all members yet again and select next. So now we can see at a glance that as the listing member, this was the volume, selling member, this is the volume. That was for single family and then for condominiums. Again, keep in mind that this is a test account, so it would be great if this person did over 6 billion in sales for single family listings. Obviously, that's not the case. And then any properties that they were a part of would be listed down here as far as the address actually goes, the sold date, and the property type, and then indicate if they were the listing member or the selling member. And if you were on both sides of that transaction, it would show you as both of these here. So that's the ones that are most important for you guys as far as the inventory reports. Most of you will be running a lot of stats probably out of the statistical reports section. So when I click on that, I do have the option of doing a ranking report. So if I want to kind of see how I compare to maybe other members, other offices, or other companies, I can go ahead and run this ranking report. So I'm going to go ahead and run this report. And again, this is under the statistical stats. And it's going to take us right to what do I want to search on. By default, it's all the property types. But again, if I wanted to narrow down a little bit, kind of promote myself as like an expert in a specific area, I could go ahead and add in county and municipality, sold price, list price, all those kinds of things. I also could use a saved search that I already had created. And then again, it's going to ask me for my beginning and end date. Again, by default, it's just the past month of the data, but I can make this go back as far as I want to. The system should have data dating all the way back to 2001, I believe it is. So to run this report, I'm just going to click on next. And it's going to ask me, how do I want to rank these members? Do I want to rank them as individual members? Do I want to look at offices? Do I want to look at companies? So if you have a corporate structure, so like Keller Williams has a corporate account and then all the offices are underneath it. So do I just want to look at the corporate structure? Do I want to look at the corporate structure and then also the offices within those corporate structures? And then rank members in office. So if I say rank members in office, that's going to compare me to everyone else in my office. So I'm going to go ahead and just select rank members. That seems to be the one that most people are kind of curious about. And I'm going to use this selection. That's going to ask me, do I want to look at this as total number of transactions, or do I want to actually have it ranked by dollar volume? By default, it's going to look at just the sold listings since we're just looking at the actual closed data. It asks me if I want to view this as the listing member, the selling member, the listing and selling member. So basically, those are those double pops. Or do I want to look at if I was the listing or on the selling side, which is probably the most common option. So I'm going to go ahead and select listing or selling member. And then it also asks me, do I want to calculate number and volumes using each individual side, which is the one that we're going to want to do. I also can exclude non-member accounts from ranking in the list, which I'm going to go ahead and do. If you do run some of these reports and you don't exclude that, you'll notice that a lot of times you'll see like non-MLS. Those are going to be listings that were either sold to like a third party that was not entered into the MLS. They maybe not, was a one-party listing agreement, or it's sold through WireX, and those selling agents were not a part of our network. It also asks us how many people we want to look at. By default, it's 10, but let's say I want to look at the top 100 based upon the criteria that I have. I can just change it to 100. Again, we're looking at being the listing or the selling member, and I'm going to select next. So this gives us our top 100, and it does show us how many sides that they had, the volume, the average price based upon the sides and volume, percentage, and then again, percentage of the volume. This is compared to, these percentages are compared to their total volume compared to everything else that was listed in this report. You'll notice that our very top person was Metro MLS, non-MLS. So again, I don't know why that didn't kick out. I'm going to have to report that one. Should have kicked that one out. Same thing with number 3. But you can also see that right now, the J. Schmidt group is ranked second, right behind this one. So technically they're in first place for the year. And you'll also notice that there's this little asterisk after it. Anything with an asterisk after it is going to indicate that it's part of a group or a team. Okay, we are talking with FBS about having an option to either include teams or exclude teams and just run them as individuals. It's just not there yet. But as we scroll through the list, I can quickly see that Dan Stacy here is ranked number 9. He doesn't have a team or group after his name or the asterisk, so he's a single individual. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, Wittenberg has a team.
Jordan,
Wittenberg has a
Judy,
team.
could you guys please mute? Thanks.
I'm just going to go through and make sure everyone else is muted. Yep, looks like. Okay, so we're going to go back to our menu and our statistics and look at the statistical reports again. So market penetration and market comparison are two other huge ones that people like to run. Market penetration, this report allows agents to view their listings and sales activity compared to their office or compared to the MLS as a whole. So I'm going to go ahead and run this report. Again, just like we saw in all the other options here, I do have all of my quick search options where I can put in select the property types. By default, again, we're looking at all of them turned on. I can add a certain status, sold date, list price, county, municipality, all those types of things. Just like we saw in the other reports, I can also include a saved search. And then I want to go ahead and look at what type of stats do I want to run as the individual members compared to individual members, office, or the company office. I'm going to go ahead and run it by member. And again, we're looking at the last month of data. And I'm going to select next. So my office here is Nancy Realtors. So I can either run it as Frank and Beans or as the Marvin Hardy team, since I'm a part of that team. I'm just going to keep it as Frank and Beans. And then just like we saw before, compare selected users' listings to his or her office. So I'm just staying in my office to see how I compare to everyone else. And then again, do I want to just look at me as the lister, me as the selling agent, me doing the double pops, or me regardless of what side I was? So I'm going to go ahead and select that listing or selling member again. I'm going to use this selection. And it basically is going to show me here how many new sides totals, list versus sale price, average list per sale price, percentage of sides. And it also shows me the pending sides and sold sides. And I can always look up here to see what my criteria is. Again, this is a test account, so I don't have all the data that you would have running these. Okay. The last thing I wanted to show you in this section is using these market areas and market summary. So again, we're in menu, my market, and I'm going to use market, my market here. And this basically is allowing me to see what is happening in the marketplace in general. This report does take a little while to load because it is looking at all the current data in our system. But you'll be able to see that it's got the number of listings, any price trends that are happening. So median sales price, average price, sale to list price ratios, days on market, months worth of inventory, and volume. And if you ever have a question on those, just like I'm hovering over them, it does have that box that pops up that allows me to see what those are relating to.
Jared, I think there's a couple of questions in the chat.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. Is co-listed data only available for team accounts? So right now, we really don't use co-listed too much. We are looking at adding a co-listing field. So co-listed probably is, and I'd have to run some tests on it. That's a good question. I don't think co-listed is going to actually show up as anything because it does not have its own criteria. And when it comes to teams, we had that option to run it as an individual or as the team. So my guess is that if I ran it as a team, it would not show that co-listed data either. It's just going to show that team information then. So I will look into co-listing though and get back to the ladies and let them know what that answer is. How does a team report if you change to team in middle of the year? So Kathy, basically what we look at as far as team data goes is if you were a team, an unofficial team prior to the start of the year. So let's say you formed a team July of 2022 and you registered your team, let's say July of this year. Since you were an unregistered team, we would go back and change the data over to the team data starting the 1st of this year moving forward. But let's say that you have formed an official team in July, you did not have a team before, it would just be the stats from July, whatever, moving forward. So we always transfer the data to the team, whichever is less time. So either the date of actual creation or the beginning of the year. I think that's it for the chat window. Looks like.
So I'm sorry. So if you were going to run a report, like based on what you were just talking about,
Mhm.
you would have to run, I guess if you run it at the member level and then the team, then you should be able to capture all of the data then? Is that what you're saying?
Correct. Yeah. So
Okay.
yeah. So whatever your if your team only has team data displaying from its creation, let's say again in July, and you wanted to incorporate your own personal data into those numbers, yeah, you just have to run the report twice using you as the individual and then you as and then the team. Okay. So now we do have some market trends that showed up here. So we at a glance, we can see that it's looking at single family properties throughout the MLS as a total. So it's showing us what the volume has done through the course of the year, as well as that months of inventory, days on market, sales to list price, those pricing trends. So we can kind of see that for the most part, our sold medians are right between that 200 and 300,000 market for our average. And then we also have our number of listings. So you can see they kind of dipped right here. That was the beginning of the year. Again, if I hover over it, it does show that these are sold listings from January 23rd and that there was 1.1 thousand. We're going to go back to our menu and we're going to go back to my market. And the last things we're going to look at is market area and market area summary. So I'm going to go ahead and select market area. And this is going to allow me to basically put in a market area to kind of keep tabs on. So it works very similar to like a hot sheet kind of. So you can see that right now I've got Ozaukee County selected, and I can see within the last 24 hours, I've got the new listing, price change, and so on and so forth. At any point in time, if I want to take a look at these, I can just go ahead and click right on top of the number, and it's going to open up that custom hot sheet for me. But I can go ahead and add in as many of these as I want to. So it's just a really easy way for me to be able to kind of see what's going on without having to run hot sheet after hot sheet after hot sheet. So if I do want to add a new one, I'm just going to go ahead and select new in the upper right-hand corner. And I'm just going to say, let's look at Milwaukee. From here, I can historical events include, I'm going to select all. So that way it's going to give me everything. If I just wanted to look at those that were maybe withdrawn or had a price change, things like that, I could just select those individually. And then from here, I can either use a saved search that I've already created, or I can create a new search. So I'm gonna go ahead and just create a new search. And since I'm looking at just the county of Milwaukee in this one, that's the only data I'm gonna put in is Milwaukee and single family. And then I'm just gonna save it. I'm gonna save my search. New search, and we will say Milwaukee and save. And I don't know what happened to my search. Let's try that again. Market areas, new. Oh, you know what? I did not select it from the drop down. That's what I did. So when you get back to this screen, the saved search, it will be blank. So you'll just have to select it from that drop down. That's what I did wrong.
And can you see, is delayed in, I couldn't tell, I'm sorry, you're so efficient. Is delayed an option in the status drop down?
Yeah, so basically when you're looking at this report, this one does not include those delayed listings. However, if you were to run a regular hot sheet, it does. So I will make a note on that as well. Delayed.
Yeah, it would be awesome if we could include that so that we don't have to look at both.
Yeah, absolutely. So I will, I made a note of it and I will talk to who I need to talk to after we get done with this meeting. And we'll see if we can get that taken care of for you. So the last thing I wanted to show you in this was I'm gonna go back to my menu. And the last thing is market area summary. So I've got my two different areas, and at a glance, I can kind of see what's happening in both those areas as well. So it's just a different view, but I can see all of them at one time now. So I've got my Milwaukee one set up and my Ozaki one set up. So I've got my new listings here, sold listings, pending listings, expired, extension. Anytime you see extension, you can completely ignore it. We don't utilize that in our version of Flex MLS, so it's always going to be 0. I can see if there's price changes and if there's back on market. So basically from withdrawn status to active, listings that are currently withdrawn, and then our totals here. And at any point in time, I can select the totals or each individual part. And it's going to bring me right back to our custom hot sheet here. And you can see it has our text changes here, which has all of our totals in it. The last thing I wanted to show you today, and this is one of those things that is very underutilized in the system, but it kind of makes you look like a rock star to your seller, and it's kind of a set it and forget it sort of a thing. So I'm just going to pretend that I am the listing agent for this Waverly Drive property in Bayside. And I'm going to go ahead and use that little black drop down. When I hover over it, it says additional actions. So by selecting that drop down, sorry, I have to go back to myself 1 second. Yeah, the test accounts do have their limitations. So I'm just gonna go ahead and just bring up a listing here. So I've got my little black drop down here. I'm gonna select that additional actions. And from here, I'm gonna go to this bottom here where it says listing activity. If I select this report, it basically is gonna show me what's going on with that property. And I can set the date range. So I could set it from the very first day it was listed, or I could just look at the last month or whatever I want to. But it's gonna give me the picture of the house from the MLS. It's gonna give me the list number, the current status, the original list price, the current list price, bedrooms and bathrooms totals. But it's gonna show me where people are looking at this property. So I can see at a glance that Flex MLS emails that this property has been looked at by email just over 1,000 times. Flex MLS, so basically those are agents that are going in and looking at that listing. 223 people have viewed it in the portal, and it's been viewed 25 times through an IDX feed. So whether that's through another real estate company's website or those third-party sites like realtor.com, it's been viewed 25 times. And that just kind of gives us a little pie chart here. As I scroll down, we have this section here, how do people rate this listing? If you are going to be utilizing this, you definitely want to explain to your sellers that this area here refers only to those people who are utilizing the portal. Because if you have customers that are using the portal, as an agent, you can recommend a listing to them. So we can see that this property has been recommended 1 time by their agent directly to that customer. It's been saved 14 times. So whether that's the agent or the individual that's looking at this property. And then hidden by agent, the agent, if they're looking at the property and they want to make sure that they're giving everything to their customer, but they know they're not going to like it, they have the option to hide that. And then this hidden here, 7 people who utilize the portal, so the buyers themselves said, I don't want to see this anymore, and they'll click the hide button. And then at that point, it goes into the hidden folder. So at any point in time, they still can go back into it. Next section here is actions people took on this listing. We can see that 53 people actually shared this listing in the past 90 days. This contact agent, open house feedback, and general messages, those are older features. So those will always be 0 because they're no longer utilized. But I find at the very bottom here are 2 really useful sections. So people who saved this listing, again, in their portal, also saved these other listings. So I know that this is probably a good indicator of what our direct competition is. I can see if it's currently active, sold, expired, and so on. And I can compare bedrooms, bathrooms, and those price ranges. And if I wanted to look at these, I can just go ahead and select view here, and it's going to open up all of these listings for me. And as I scroll down a little bit further, so people who viewed this listing also viewed these additional listings. So this is another good indicator as to what our direct competition is, because if they're looking at our house and they're looking at these, I know that they're probably pretty comparable to each other. And just like with the saved, I also have the option to view these listings. The thing I really like about this is on the very bottom here, I can email this directly to my customer, or I can set up an auto email function. So if I select auto email, it's going to ask me to add, I can add a contact. So I'm just going to go ahead and add myself. And I can add multiple contacts. And then it asks me how often do I want these to go out. So I have the choice of doing either weekly or monthly. I'm going to keep mine at weekly. And I can even select what day of the week I want it to go out. So I'm just going to say Mondays, I want my sellers to receive this report. And then if I want to receive a copy as the agent, I can go ahead and CC me this report. And then from there, I can click on save, and it's that automatic email event that'll automatically go out every Monday to my sellers, so they have this report refreshed every single week.
That's great.
So that basically is everything report-wise that I wanted to share with you today. I know I went through a lot of different options. Just keep in mind, if you kind of are looking for a specific thing in a report, just go down to your report and make sure you utilize that view sample option, because it allows you at a glance here. This is the yearly market comparison. I can see this year versus last year. Okay, this is what I want to run. And then from there, I can run the report directly. Or if it's not the one I want, I can just simply click back to menu page and select the one that I want.
Fantastic.
All right, I'm not hearing any questions or seeing anything new in the chat. I do have that little bit of homework that you guys gave me about rapid stats cutting off the cities when there's multiples, and then also using delayed as part of the market criteria there. So I'll look into those, and then I'll report back to Stephanie and Joan, and they'll be able to get that information out to you.
Yeah, great.
So
It's just a mountain of information.
And if at any point in time you have additional questions and you want to follow up with me, easiest way to get a hold of me is email. It's Jared, Jared, at metromls.com. So Kathy, you're very welcome. Again, if I can help you guys out, let me know. Otherwise, go out and enjoy that beautiful day. I don't think we're going to get too many more 60-degree days left in this year. So